build that service. What that means, from a practical perspective is before building the entire product, especially if it's a digital product, a software project, you have to sell the outcome of that product to those potential customers who have that pain so acutely that they need it solved today. You can only do that if you're talking to customers, getting commitments from them, charging for pilot agreements, and learning where the objections to your business, your product are going to be. Revenue is a much better evidence point than.
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and the wisdom of how they sold their first million.
How would you like to make your first million? Today we have Jeremy Bacon, and he is the founder and managing partner for ESOO Partners company, and he is he invests in the future of work, health, and longevity as managing partner at ESOO Partners and operating partner at Mudja Venture Partners. So he's passionate about helping founders refine a strategy, build resilient team, and accelerate go-to-market execution. So Jeremy, tell us, what are the 5 steps you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make the first million?
You bet, Harry. Thanks for having me on the show. I think I will break it down a couple of ways, but your first million usually comes from one of 3 things. You're either solving a super painful problem, owning a very scarce asset, or building a machine that sells for you while you're sleeping, right? While you're doing something other than working. I think the mistake that many people make is trying to look like an entrepreneur before they've actually learned how to create value like an entrepreneur. And so for me, the sort of 5 steps I think about and recommend is, 1, first and foremost, you have to find a very painful problem that's attached to real budgets. Meaning, you don't start with your personal passion necessarily. It's great if you're passionate about the thing that's a big pain point for people, but you have to start with a painful thing. The best businesses out there are built around problems that people already know that they have and are already spending money to solve, but are just frustrated with the current options for solving those problems. Right? That's it. The first $1 million isn't hiding inside your passion. It's hiding inside someone else's crazy urgent problem that has to get solved now. This again, excuse me, the second part of the formula from my perspective is picking a very narrow customer segment and becoming super crazy useful to that customer segment. Like a lot of founders end up going too broad, too fast, usually because they're afraid of missing some kind of opportunity in this sector or industry that they're playing in. But that's backwards in my opinion. Specificity creates trust, ultimately creates pricing power, leads to better referrals, and ultimately leads to repeatability of your business value proposition. So if you say you serve everybody, no one's going to believe that. The path to $1 million in revenue is in narrow, very specified, targeted customer segments or customers in the beginning. And once you've proven that you're successfully able to serve them, then you can start to expand. That leads me to my third point. I think that it's essential that people think about selling product before you overbuild product. I spent 20 something years building software companies. So I've started and sold 4 different software companies, and I've started physical businesses, and I've started venture capital funds, and I invest as an investor. No matter what you're building, no matter what your company is, you have to sell your service before you overbuild that service. What that means, from a practical perspective is before building the entire product, especially if it's a digital product, a software project, you have to sell the outcome of that product to those potential customers who have that pain so acutely that they need it solved today. You can only do that if you're talking to customers, getting commitments from them, charging for pilot agreements, and learning where the objections to your business, your product are going to be. Revenue is a much better evidence point than strong compliments about your desire to solve a problem, right? Revenue is king. So I think, a customer that says, that's kind of interesting, hasn't given you anything. But a customer who gives you money for the work that you are proposing to do, well, that's truth. And that is a very viable path toward making real money. Step 4, from my perspective, would be related to delivery of your product. So turning delivery of your product or service or good into a repeatable system is absolutely critical. So I think, I think about this when I say the first $100,000 of revenue usually comes from pure grit and hustle, right? You're getting out there, meeting customers, you're doing the thing, and you're proving, hey, look, I can now offer you some value here. To get to $1 million in revenue, regardless of the business that you're selling, you have to have processes that are scalable beyond you. So the way you figure that out is as you're selling that first 100,000, that first group of customers, you're doing the old things, the basic things. You're writing down how leads come in, how those leads convert, how what you say resonates with your customer, how you deliver value, how those customers then renew and buy from you again, and then how you create referrals. And by systematizing that process, you can ultimately get to the point where you are going to be able to get beyond 100,000 and get up to a million and then 10 and 20 and 100. Hustle gets you started and systems get you paid. That's one of the things I tell my teams all the time. Work your butt off, that gets you started, and then you get paid when you have systems that work for you. And then my last step, number 5, I would say is reinvesting in leverage. So everything you do in your business has to be leverageable, or you probably shouldn't be doing it. Well, actually, I'll say one other thing. It has to be related to revenue, or you shouldn't be doing it. And it has to be something you can leverage to produce more revenue, or you should probably not be doing it. So as you start to grow, you have to reinvest in leveraging people, product, distribution, ownership, referral, all that kind of stuff. So once you know the model works and you're starting to grow, then you as the founder, you as the owner, you as the primary, as the CEO, as the doer, you've got to get out of the way and stop being a bottleneck to growth. So you have to hire, automate, delegate, build product, build your audience, build your partnerships, and then share the ownership of your business with people who can get the job done just like you. That's how you do it, in my opinion. So that was a lot of words, but I think the real move in starting a business and building a company isn't in making money one time. It's building a machine that can keep creating value without needing your fingerprints on every single task, every single day, all day long.
Jeremy, out of the 500 million that we interview, 1 out of 5 are tech entrepreneurs and tech millionaires, and they have exit tech companies. But can
Sure.
you really tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly of the tech business? I love something that you said, they like sell rather than overbuild. This is very powerful, right? We have a lot of tech entrepreneurs that listen to the podcast. Like I said, 1 out of 5 millionaires show up here, and the listeners might be thinking, wow, if there is so large proportion of tech entrepreneurs that become millionaires and they exit the business, that maybe is easy. So can you can you tell us a check of reality? What's the good, the bad, and the ugly? Because everybody see Elon Musk, you see the Google guys, you say, you know what? I'm gonna do a tech business, and that's it. I'm gonna be a billionaire.
Right.
And
Right.
in this podcast, on top of that, 1 out of 5 showing up, doing well. And so tell us the truth, the bad, and the ugly from the tech business or the tech businesses.
For sure. So I would say to start my response there, I would say that the stories that you read about in the press and that make it to the media tend to be the exceptions to the rule, not the rule itself, right? So yeah, it does happen where 0.001% of the time someone has a great idea or even a stupid idea that ends up being viewed as a great idea by the market. And voila, before you know it, they've built this massively successful company and they're a billionaire. What the media doesn't usually tell you is that those companies have been struggling and working their hardest for a decade or two. In fact, it's interesting. This data is going to be a little tiny bit dated because it's from the end of 2025. And so I haven't seen, the first half of 2026 data points on this yet. But the average technology company that gets sold in the US markets takes 17 years from the day it is founded until the day it is sold. So you hear
Wow,
about exits
I
all the
didn't know.
time.
Wow, I didn't know
It is
this.
17 years of struggle and heartache and getting beaten up and kicked around every single day, even if you are Mark Zuckerberg. Again, think about when he started Facebook, right? It wasn't an instant overnight success, right? To a certain extent, it was because technology was so new and interesting, but he didn't become a billionaire for quite a while. He didn't become a decabillionaire for a lot longer than that. And again, Facebook's a unique example. most software companies, just like most retail companies that become big businesses, it takes decades to build, literally decades. And my own experience has been the same. I've started and sold 4 software companies, and I've helped start a bunch of other ones. And the average time from start to finish is about 17 years. We've had some that sell faster, and we've had some that are still going, right? But like, it is a long, long journey. And so I think it's 2 things. One is you shouldn't be discouraged because it's taking a long time to get where you're going. If you have good customers, if you have good product, if you're solving real painful points and you figure out how to leverage and scale yourself and your business, you're going to find your way. You're going to find your way and you'll find an exit at some point. But if you don't have those things and you're struggling to get to $1 million in revenue, there might be signs that you're barking up the wrong tree, or that you maybe want to pivot and look into something different.
Anything good about tech businesses?
Everything's great about tech. I mean, it's super. I was a coder as a kid. I bought my first computer for myself when I was 8 years old and started writing software for fun, and messed around with it all through college and grad school, and knew I wanted to build software companies. To this day, I still want to build software companies. I love it. Even as an investor, I've been investing in deep tech and AI and machine learning and software as a service platforms now for a very, very long time, relatively speaking, almost 16 years now. And still the greatest joy I get is in helping to create something. And that's now I do it as an investor versus as a startup founder myself, because I want to do 20 at a time, not one at a time. But yeah, it's great. It's awesome. It's the coolest thing in the world.
Jeremy said that it's easy to scale, but tech is, and of course, if it's easy to scale a tech business, because if you want to scale a restaurant, you have to duplicate the place, the number of employees, and takes a lot of operation and cash flow. Whether there are tech companies out there literally that have very few employees and they're making a lot of money because
Sure.
you can scale. You see Uber, you see all these tech companies, right? So, but the other part of it is that sometimes it's easy to replicate. It's hard to so you have this easy scalability for one side of it, but on the other side you have how to communicate your value effectively, and I think you have to be the brand to get market share, because
Yes.
in tech there is always danger. Somebody with a lot of resources, even big tech, can, as soon as they see that you are gonna take a little bit of market share from them, that they perceive it, or then you're gonna have someone in your shadow, and it's become tough, right?
Ab- Absolutely. So I tell my students at University of Chicago this all the time, that everyone figures out the right answer eventually, right? But by the right answer, I mean the key to the success of a company, right? Everybody figures out the right answers at some point, sooner or later. And so, especially in the technology world, you have to figure out very early, are you going to be cheaper or better or different than everybody else in the market? And how much cheaper, how much better, how much different are you going to be? And then you have to build a brand around that, right? There's a fabulous book I encourage all entrepreneurs to read. It's called Play Bigger. It is basically a manuscript for like 17 different principles, basically, that teach you how to think about building a unicorn scale, like market leading business, right? And how do you own a category? So there's a great framework for doing that that's outlined in that book. But it comes down to marketing and image marketing every single time. Because at some point, when everyone figures out the right special sauce to doing that thing, whether it's tech or medicine or consulting or whatever, they're all going to copy it and do it, right? Because that's what sells, that's what works. Economics 101 teaches us that's what's going to happen, right? And so at some point, the only way you can differentiate yourself and stay ahead is by being bigger than everybody else. And you do that by building the biggest brand and creating the most trust and ultimately being able to leverage it. I mean, I'll use the Facebook example again because it's the easiest one. There was a million social media companies out there. There was one Facebook, right? And what you find in every single market is that usually the top 2 or 3 companies in any market own 70 to 80% of the business. And then the other 50 to 500 to 5 million are fighting for the last 20 to 30%. And you don't want to be in that last 20, 30%, especially in technology, right? You need to own a category or you're not going to kind of get where you want to go. Having said that, it's also okay as an entrepreneur not to want to build $1 billion company. That's also totally fine, right? Um, Markets are amazing. Entrepreneurship is amazing. You can build a business that does $1 million a year in revenue with a handful of people and you love it and you serve customers, and that's perfectly okay, right? So I always encourage entrepreneurs, especially thinking about technology, decide what you want to be. How big is your market? How big can you possibly build based on your knowledge, your network, your experience, your connections, your skill sets, et cetera? And then set your sights for that. You don't have to be $1 trillion company, right? If you want to be, great, go for it, have fun. But there's many paths up the mountain, and success is is a personal measure versus a public one, I think.
Jeremy, I want to enhance a little bit more something you said very important, which is sale more and build less. And I advise some tech companies, and very often I find a pattern. Someone like you, right, that love computing and love doing is kind of a genius writing the code. But what happened, Jeremy, is that they got in love with the product. They put a lot of time, money, resources in the product, and they say, "Don't worry about Harry. Don't forget about sales. Forget about product market fit. Forget about marketing. Forget about building a brand. This
Yeah,
product is gonna be so good that people will buy by itself. So all the money, all the time, all the
they
resources
will not.
we hide, we hiding, and they put in the product, and then they have a massive elephant, Jeremy, and then they come,
Yep,
Harry, please find me funding. I said, for what do you want the money? I said, to sell it. Said, so you want me to to get you an investor to sell something that you cannot even sell it yourself,
yeah.
guys, and
You,
you have resources and everything, and you put everything on the product,
yeah,
and I'm telling you the wise from day one. So Jeremy, I want to know when that transformation happened to you, because what happened in this
yes,
podcast, 1 out of 5 millionaires tech that show up in this podcast, most of them, they're not even software developers. Most of them, they're marketing, sales, branding
yeah,
people that they understand what the people want, how much they're willing to pay, in what for they want a product, and then
yes,
they pay a tech team to do it. Those ones do very well. But the other ones are people like you, which is actually the exception, which is so software developers, but then they come to the podcast and they spend the whole time talking about branding, sales, and marketing. Guys, I thought that you are geeks for code.
yeah, yeah.
So those ones that
The,
are software developers, they speak like you, they talk like you, which is something very different.
yeah,
What I found out there, 80%, everything that I found out there is a high level of failure
yeah.
because of that. So tell us, Jeremy, about your journey.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure. For sure. Well, what you're saying is so important, right? I mean, at the end of the day, people won't buy what they're not going to use, right? Again, when we think about solving a problem, our goal is to find a narrow problem that's so painful that people are already spending money trying to solve that problem, but the existing solutions for that problem are not good, right? And so that doesn't mean if you're building a new product, you don't have to have 1,000 features, 10,000 features, a million lines of code. What you have to have is a product that solves a very painful problem for a customer that is willing to pay for it. And over time, inevitably, every product gets big, every product gets larger, every product's, you get feature function creep and all this kind of stuff. It totally happens. One of the things I think I've always focused on with my product teams, and I was the first CTO for the first software company I ever started, was a fabulous influence on me, and he reminded me time and time again that the most valuable software we were going to write is the software we never write. Right. And what I mean by that is if I write a line of code, I have to maintain that line of code forever. Right. And every time we change architectures, every time we update the stuff, I have to maintain that code. Right. And technical debt becomes a huge issue for software companies and always will because we always have this tendency to overbuild. And so, what we've always focused on from a software development perspective is saying, what is the fewest number of features I can build that will solve the largest number of shared problems for the largest numbers of customers in this market, right, that need this product? And that's what I build. And then from a marketing perspective, right, because you have talked to 100 or 1,000 customers, you understand what are the 5, 10, 15 maybe features that most of your customers are going to need. And you stack rank them, you understand where they fit, what the level of pain is, what the level of pricing you can associate with those features. And that's what you build. That's also what you sell. That's what you demo. The other thing that's interesting about software, people always forget is as a consumer of software, whether it's you or me buying a product or a company buying a product, we tend to use the features that number one, we were looking for because of the pain, and number two, that we see in a demonstration while we're evaluating the product. Beyond that, we almost never use more features. We almost never understand the full capabilities of the product. Most people use between 10 and 30% of the products they buy on the software side, literally, whether it's consumer or enterprise. We don't use very much of the product, which all of this supports this idea that the best software you write is the code you never do write, right? It's only focus on the things you
It's
know the
very
customer needs
profound.
that
That's
everyone's
very
going to want.
powerful for our audience.
And
Guys,
then
if you
you have to,
listen again what Jeremy is sharing because it's gold and it's very profound. If you actually can digest and think twice about, the more complex thing, Jeremy, is to say simple things, right? Stay
yeah,
with that phrase. The best code you have is this one that you don't write, because that will save you basically from failure, Jeremy.
yeah, it
And
saves you time and money and energy and everything over time. Yeah, it's the best. Yeah,
eventually, if somebody buy it, you will be able to write. But Jeremy, the other challenge that we have is we have software developers, right? They get paid a lot of money to do their job, and
sure.
they decide, you know what, I'm gonna become an entrepreneur. I'm gonna do my own company. So now, of course, they get incorporated. They get paid to what they love, which is write code, and now they have their
Yeah,
own company, and they want to get paid for what they love, which is being in front of the machine writing the code. But
sure.
having your own company is different because I seen founders that said, "Look, guys, you need to take care of sales and marketing," and they tell me, "Harry, this is not my job." I'm like, "What? This is not your job? Everything is your job. You're the CEO. This is not your
Right.
corporate work. In your corporate work, you can tell your boss, this is not my job. Here is your thing, right?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Jeremy, how you manage to let go what you love, which clearly is, writing the code and being in front of the machine, but because you are an entrepreneur, you realize, hold on a minute, I love to be in front of the computer, but if I want this business to work, if I want this to sell it, if I want this business to grow, I had to let go few things that I love and focus in things that maybe you don't like, you don't love. I always say, if you decide to be a software developer, it's because you like to be by yourself in front of the computer, right?
Yeah.
That personality fit that criteria. But now, Jeremy, you need to drop that, which is what you love, and now go out there and speak with the strangers, telling them what you're doing, which is something completely different. So, how you manage to do this transformation within yourself, and what message do you have for our tech founders that exactly you described? You need to do whatever it takes if you want to succeed in tech, and this is easy what we say, but it's really difficult. So, Jeremy, what happened in that
Yeah.
transformation for you? Did it happen naturally? You struggle, you resisted to it, a friend told you? Tell us the story.
Yeah, so I think from in my situation, so I started messing around with entrepreneurship and business building as a really young kid. I did my first entrepreneurial thing when I was 8, and then again, literally my whole life I've been experimenting with building businesses and building teams because there are things I'm really good at and things I love to do, and there are things I'm terrible at and or hate doing, and I am not going to do the things I don't like. I'm never going to be good at everything, and so I can't expect that I can do everything, right? No one can. So when you're building a business, and in my opinion, one of the most important things you can do very early is find the ideal co-founder or ideal early hires to support you to build your business and to support you mostly in things you're not good at or have no expertise in or don't want to do. In fact, one of the things I spend a lot of time on with my teams is I work on creating healthy friction and hiring people that I know are going to experience healthy friction between them. So differences in personalities, differences in backgrounds, differences in beliefs and ideologies about how to do things and what the right answer is going to be. And I focus on this because it helps to draw out the most important and the broadest viewpoints. But also, it helps me think about, well, when I'm hiring somebody, I'm hiring them to do a series of jobs, a series of things that so that I don't have to do them anymore. And so I focus exclusively on saying, well, for this role, I need someone who can do these 5 things. They're 5 things I could do if I had to, but I don't want to because I'm not best at it. I find the person to do those 5 things, and that's what they do. It takes it off my shoulders. And, I think by focusing on really hiring the right kinds of people, around you from day one. It allows you to leverage their skill sets, leverage their strengths, and you can ignore your own weaknesses because they're their strengths, right? Now, on the flip side, sometimes I think we find a lot of entrepreneurs in the tech side and even in sort of like consumer packaged goods and product companies and others that they'll hire or they'll join forces with someone who's a lot like them day one. And that's where I see the most friction and the most tension in startup businesses, where you've got two founders who they're both great people, but they have too much in common. They both want to do the same things, and they both have too many shared skill sets. And so that might either make them blind to the things that they lack in, or certainly instead of creating healthy friction between the two of them, it can create real negative friction and bad friction between them, which ultimately can lead the businesses to fall apart well before they should. To me, these problems are all addressable by just being strategic about who you bring in, who you associate with, and you hire for people that have a 90% probability of being successful in the role that you're hiring for, not because they're your best friend, not because they're super cool. You know, that's not what you're doing. You're building a business that we all work for the business, and the business owns us all, is some of the ways I think about it. So if that makes sense, it was a bit of a
Yeah,
blurb there,
yeah.
but yeah, yeah.
I love it, Jeremy. That happened to me, in my company. I'm a creator, right? And then, of course, you tend to hire people like you, right? So my business partner is a creator. And then we start to bring people that are creator. And at some point in the business, I remember that we were discussing, I'm thinking, well, we need a doer, somebody that actually do the stuff, because
Yeah.
if we are all creating, who's gonna get the job done, right?
So,
So
exactly
you're
right.
100% right. Yeah, I find this happened to me kind of by accident. I was thinking, wow, I cannot bring any more creator in the. We already flooded with ideas. We need
Right. Well,
execution in this company.
yeah,
So
as an investor in like deep technology companies, I see these all the time. There's a team of 5 people that are building this incredible new technology that's going to change the world, and they're pitching to raise money, and I'm like, this is awesome. If the tech works and people want to buy it, that's great. The problem is you're 5 builders of like a technology. None of you are 5 doers of the thing of building a market, building a customer base, building a team, operating a company, selling services, selling product. I mean, you've got 1/3 of the business lined up. That's great. The other
very
two
common.
thirds are the more important ones, because also usually, and this sometimes this gets controversial for some people, but like I've found this time and again, the best product almost never wins in the end. It's the best distribution, the best team, the best marketing, and the best brand, right? That is what wins almost all of the time. There are exceptions. Google is a great example, right? Google built the best machine in the world for doing search. Awesome. And they won, right? And they've continued to win by being the best. That happens, certainly, but far more frequently, it's not the best product that wins. It's the product with the
Hmm.
best
I agree
distribution,
with you
the best
100%.
management, the best team, the best marketing. That's what wins. And that means, doesn't mean you can sell a garbage product, obviously, but it means you don't have to be so obsessed about being everything to everybody, having all the million features, et cetera. It's you have the right stuff, be the best product for the right customer set, and then build a great brand around it, a great engine that can go to market and sell.
What you just described, Jeremy, the media is the exception, right?
Yeah, yeah,
the
it often
the
is. Yeah,
exception. How things actually work is exactly how you describe it. Now, the other question, Jeremy, building a tech business and exit is already a very complex thing.
yeah,
Clearly, you don't need the money. You should be in the beach drinking mojito in the cruise.
that's boring.
So why you decide boring? Well, are you having several tech companies and investing? I'm telling you, you will never get bored.
That's right.
so
Yeah, yeah.
so, Jeremy, why you go through the whole thing again and again? Because you have several companies, and especially in the tech space, because I've been helping and supporting tech businesses,
Yeah,
and every time that somebody tell me, Harry, let's get involved in tech, I say, whoa, hold on a minute. Now, hold on a minute, because this is intense.
yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, it's
Yes.
funny. I often tell people, I mean, the best businesses. So when you run around the world, right, as you do, and you oftentimes the most successful, well, a lot of people, if you're measuring like success based on wealth and value creation, oftentimes the most successful, the most wealthy entrepreneurs are not the people that are building tech companies, right? That's not where all the money's made. Yeah, you get like the extremes, right, in the tech world, but physical assets, boring businesses, agricultural supplies, making burlap bags, asphalt companies, like product based, like manufacturing. This is where all the money is. It's in infrastructure and it's in like hard, physical, dirty businesses. That is where the vast majority of the world's wealth is sitting. That is where the most opportunity resides. It's not in building a cool app, right? Because again, 9,000 apps out there today are being launched and maybe one of them is worth it, right? That's so I always joke tech is like such a wonderful place. I love it, but like it's not the best place to make money. If you want to make money, go do something that like touches the dirt, that touches manufacturing something, that touches making something or building something or owning an asset, right? That's much better. But the reason I keep coming back to it is because I'm just a hyper curious person. I love learning. I love reading. I'm a super geek. When I think about the future of like humanity and the future of our planet and the future of life in general, health span, lifespan, cybernetics, digitization of every like all these things. It's amazing. And so I want to keep learning about all these technologies and all of the potential future outcomes for our species. And so it's awesome to be able to invest in those things and help to, invest in and start and manage companies that are going to unlock the next wave of human potential and human possibility. So that's why I keep going back to it because it's awesome. I mean, what else am I going to do but build stuff? It's great. It's great.
Now let's talk about longevity, which is related to
Yeah,
one of your business. I usually speak at family office events, right, with a
sure.
lot of wealthy people go there, and there is the topic of longevity that is always there. We have
Yeah,
speakers there, and especially wealthy people. They are really, really interested in
for
the
sure.
topic, right?
They have
Because
a great life.
about
They want to keep living it, right?
they
Like
want
when
to
you have
keep in
everything, you
it,
want to keep doing it. Yeah.
and they, but at the same time, Jeremy, we have seen things like, for example, with AI, right? Like, let's say, for example, the cure for cancer. We don't cure cancer because we don't know. But the issue with the AI is the thing learns and keep learning and keep learning. Eventually, somebody told me that, before you play chess with the computer, and sometimes the computer wins, sometimes you win. They said that nowadays, with the processors and the speed they have, there is no way that we can beat the computer in
You
chess.
cannot. Yeah,
They,
yeah,
they, they
yeah.
said that today is impossible. Before, yes, today, so the computer outsmart the human being, period.
Right. But what's interesting is to riff on that for a second and get to what your
Yes.
your point is, like when that first happened, right? When oh gosh, I just forgot his name. It's embarrassing. I talk about it all the time. Famous Russian chess player, grandmaster, who lost to the machine after. Oh, it's so embarrassing. I can't remember his name. It's sorry. Um,
Kasparov, maybe, or I don't know. Kasparov was a very
Yeah,
good chef
Kasparov. Yes, yeah, 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 yeah,
Kasparov,
yeah. So
yeah.
when he lost, um, after machines started beating humans consistently, what happened is most people thought, oh, humans are going to stop playing chess because what's the point? The exact opposite happened. More people than ever play chess today, and more pros use chess engines to help them get better than ever before. So, in my opinion, like technology ultimately enables all of our greatest creative inspirations. It also has the potential to inspire us negatively too. But when people get freaked out about the future of AI and oh, is it going to take our jobs? And it's not going to happen. Like it is not going to happen. Will it create some destruction of certain types of jobs? Of course it will, but that always happens. That's creative destruction that we're going to do one way or the other. Certain jobs are going to go away, but we're sitting on the precipice of like the biggest explosion in human creativity that the human race has ever known. And the next
I
20,
agree.
50, 100 years, like the things that we as human beings, Homo sapiens sapiens, are going to achieve because of the tools that we're building and that we're going to continue to power, we can't even imagine how amazing the future can be. Now that being said, of course, there will always be sadly inequality. Sadly, it's built into our societies. We have a responsibility to like use technologies to lift everybody up, to help raise all boats and make everyone more prosperous for sure. But like the difference between the haves and the have-nots will always be there. We have to fight that. It's an internal problem for humans to work on. But the tools that we are building, oh my God. like I get to spend all my time in like deep tech laboratories seeing technologies that are coming, that are on the verge of coming out, that are going to help us rewrite our genes and rewrite our cells before cancer happens, that are going to help us to have new therapies and therapeutics that are going to extend our lifespans, new treatments that'll help us to discover our propensity for certain diseases and illnesses that we're going to then be able to prevent using our AI buddies, not the other way around, right? And so it is just the most exciting time ever to be playing with this stuff.
I agree with you. The future is so bright. And I think, Jeremy, it's our responsibility as an entrepreneur because, when something new goes, the fear
For
is
sure.
the most important element that some companies with some cultures, try to, put the fear into the employees thinking, oh, like this, they're going to work harder, like this, they're going to produce more. Where at the end of the day, even in my own company, when the AI started, I spoke with the team and I said, look, guys, nobody's leaving. However, everybody needs to start to learn how to use this thing. So I'm gonna spend my personal time. We're gonna have our IT developer, and we even running the company as we speak with the multi-agents AI thing, and it's amazing, Jeremy. I'm so happy. The AI doesn't let them to make mistakes. Sometimes they forget something.
For
So
sure.
they knew what they
Yeah.
had to do. Even
Yeah.
this podcast, right? This production, this podcast, after we do everything before, I had to say, guys, check, you forgot this, you forgot
Yeah.
Jeremy bio, you forgot to mention this company. Now, the AI doesn't allow them to make mistakes because remind them, hey, you forgot this. So it's
Well,
amazing. What I
for
see is
sure.
an
And
amplifier. They are producing 10x what they were doing before, which is amazing. And so I see it like it's a big amplifier. Even with the mobile phone, before we didn't have mobile phone, and
oh yeah,
now you have mobile phone, and how many people were doing those apps? You know what I mean?
correct.
So
Totally.
I
Yeah,
think that
it's huge. Well, and when
that
the last thing I
go
guess
ahead.
I'd say on a the last thing I'd say on AI specifically too is like the models that we have today, the frontier models are awesome, right? And like they're really cool, they're powerful. We've gone from from LLMs now where everything's about agentic AI and orchestration layers to like make more systems be able to work with each other. That's awesome. But like
This I'm a big
what is
fan of this one, Jeremy. We're doing our own company. We're having a lot of fun with it. It's
yeah,
amazing,
it's awesome. But
amazing.
what's coming, like the stuff we've got today doesn't even scratch the surface about what's coming next. So
Really?
when you think about AI, there's sort of six frontiers of AI. I won't bore you with all of them, but like so we have like LLMs and agentic and orchestration AI. That's what's being worked on right now. You might have heard really starting this year, it became a bigger thing publicly, this notion of physical AI. So physical AI is this concept of giving senses to machines. That's what it is. Sight, sound, smell, touch, hear, all this stuff. When you think about like machines that
Wow,
are going to
wow.
understand human beings and therefore also understand how to be independent and work as agents for us, they need to be able to understand as much as possible what it's like to live in a three-dimensional world, what it's like to be human or animal, right? And they can't do that without senses, the way that we have senses. So a lot of physical AI is focused on visual systems, on and today anyway, but like the whole range of human sensory organs and human sensory systems are coming, right? And what that then opens up in greater detail is what's called embodied and biohybrid AI. So a few years from now, we're going to get to the point where we're going to be able to start doing much more detailed, much more in-depth, much more safe human computer interface, brain computer interface technologies. All that stuff's coming. I mean, I'm in labs now all the time looking at this stuff being developed in real time. Like
Wow,
we're
wow.
going to integrate these systems into our bodies. It's what's going to happen. And then beyond that, you get to morphogenic AI and all kinds of crazy stuff, which then ultimately leads potentially to like AGI and sentience and all that kind of stuff, where you've got like machines that are like us, right? Who knows
Jeremy, I
when that
think I
happens?
hear
But
also
it's
that
crazy.
about the organs. I think I heard that now you can, before you have to wait for liver transplant or things like this. That a company also working now to do
Oh, for
an
sure. Yeah, there are
organ,
companies working, yeah, working
with
to
the
grow your own new
AI.
organs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the biggest challenge that we have with the organs when they do this transplant is that they are no compatible with the body.
correct.
But now with those ones that have AI, it will learn and adapt and get compatible. So, and also talking about the learning thing, the cancer, Jeremy, the same thing coming back to a chess player, right? We don't have the solution for cancer because we just don't know. However, if the machine can smart us out, they because they learn and learn and learn, eventually they're gonna find the solution. The
Yeah,
solution
we're
is
going to
there
figure it
for
out.
cancer.
Yeah.
We just don't know, and maybe it's gonna take us 100 years for us human beings to learn. But whatever it's gonna take us 100 years to learn, with the use of AI, it might take a couple of years, and then
Yeah, maybe.
we'll come back
And
with the answers. And
yeah, that's what's exciting about it and why we have to
I
keep
see very
investing in it.
very positive about this. So,
Yeah.
and coming back now to the next one, because I
Oh,
think
sure.
the other day we were talking about this, that now life expectancy, Jeremy,
Yeah.
is more than before. Somebody, well, I was giving a consultation, something like this, and said, well, this is, you buy this property, whatever, that's gonna be your retirement money, blah blah. And then I'm thinking, I said, you know what? I think that buy more properties, because uh, the life expectancy now, it will increase. So actually, if you're retiring or whatever, you're gonna need more money, that because that what you should need it before. Let's face it. Let's say,
Yeah.
for
You're
example,
going to live longer.
you
Yeah.
retire with 65 years, and if the life expectancy is 75 years, okay, you need money for 10 years, right?
Right.
But now, with this advance in longevity and AI and all that, Jeremy, I think that even the life expectancy in United States, or all over the world, it has increased more than what
Yeah.
it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can
It
you
keeps
describe a
going
little
up.
bit more about, yeah, it keep going on. Can you tell us a little bit
Correct.
more what is actually happening? Because still they're selling junk food in the supermarket most of the time. And so how
Yeah.
come life expectancy is growing, which I'm surprised, and this is
Yeah.
was not happening before?
Well, there's a few reasons. So, like, qualified. I'm not like the life expectancy expert, but I read about this stuff a lot because I care about it deeply. But even
I'm
in
a
the
big fan
U.S.,
also. Yeah.
yeah. So even in the U.S., the life expectancy has gone back up. We had a little blip. COVID kind of skewed the numbers for a couple of years, but it's rising. So I think right now, based on what I read most recently, the average female in the U.S. is expected to live for just over 81 years, and the average male is supposed to live for 77-ish years. But a couple things we have to remember. If you make it to 76 years old and you're a male, that doesn't mean you're probably going to live until you're 77 years old. It means you're probably now going to live to 85. And if you make it to 85, you're probably going to live to 90. And if you make it to 90, you're probabilistically going to live to 93 or something like that. So like these life expectancies, like there's huge numbers of years. You think about like the distribution curve, right? The bell curve of these things. Like if you make it to the average and you're one standard deviation away or two or three, like you're going to live a long time. So it's actually kind of a problem for us. And most of the Western world created social security systems, retirement systems for the pension systems for the public that were designed around this idea that you're dead at 70, right? And so, or that you retire at 65 and you're dead at 70 because that's what was happening, right? And so they weren't designed to support people living 20, 30, 40 years from retirement. So I think a couple things are happening. One is if you're 65 today, odds are you're way healthier than your parents were when they were 65, and you probably still feel pretty decent enough to keep working, right? Most people want to keep working. They might not want to slug out the general corporate life anymore, but they probably want to keep working for a lot longer. So I think number one, people are going to work into their 70s, into their 80s, maybe even into their 90s, not as an exception, but more as a rule over time for two reasons. One, because they'll feel good enough to do it. And two, they're going to have to because the vast majority of people don't have enough wealth saved up to be able to retire, right? To just do nothing. And the longer you live, when you're not working, the more money you have to have today, earning, compound interest at X% per year to be able to support that, right? And so it's this really interesting situation we're finding ourselves in that number one, we're probably all going to have to work longer, but we're going to feel better and be more healthy. So we're going to want to work longer. It'll be easier to do that. And that also gives us more time to save more money because, the federal system in the US and elsewhere is not going to be there for us. So we're going to have to rely even more on ourselves and our own means to get it done, which is why it's great to be an entrepreneur and save as much money as you can, or to get a great high paying job in a trade or in a regular company and save every penny you can to prepare for a 20, 30, 40 or 50 or 60 year, increase in lifespan. But it's coming. It's absolutely coming.
Jeremy, to conclude, can you tell us a little bit more about your other companies, and if somebody's in love with this conversation, how people can find you, how this process work?
Sure. Yeah. So I have a investment fund called ESOO Partners, out of which I invest in the future of health, longevity, and related technologies, basically to help us work better, live better, and longer. I also have a company called the Forge Adventure Parks, which is totally not technology based at all. It's an outdoor recreation business where we have concert venues and food and beverage and activities and parties and things like that. And that's a platform that we run and we're expanding across the country. And then I teach at the University of Chicago in the business school. I get to work with faculty and students alike from undergrad through to graduate level plus on entrepreneurship and business building and all those kinds of things. It's how I love to spend my time, and it's certainly keeps me busy and keeps me going and excited. If there's anyone that's listening that wants to reach out and connect, I mean, LinkedIn's an easy way to find me. Or you can, I think I have a personal website that also gets you access to me. It's just jeremybacon.com. You can find me that way. And I'm happy to chat with folks.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for the broadcast. I really appreciate it. And I think especially tech entrepreneurs listen the podcast twice because you can digest and be with the conversation that we had today with Jeremy. It's gonna get a lot of food for your tech business. You see, people that actually done it more than once, they have a blueprint, right? They
Yeah.
have, especially Jeremy, the king's coming back. I'm like, what?
Well, yeah.
You really
If
love
I
it,
could,
yeah.
I do love it. Yeah. Well, if I could offer one final sort of piece of advice to folks, right? Like most businesses fail. And that's okay. It's totally fine. Failure is part of the process. I know folks that failed two, three, four times before they were successful. That's great. I know people who were successful and then failed two, three, four times afterwards. There is no guarantee that your idea is going to work and that your business is going to work ever. Nothing guarantees it. So, most companies fail because they either run out of cash or they run out of customers or they run out of stamina because it's hard. Remember, 17 years on average to get something to exit, or they fail in operating discipline, right? They don't have the right people on the bus to help get where they're trying to go. Similarly, most venture capital backed startups that fail because they build something that the market does not need, does not want badly enough. And as a result, they can't find a scalable go to market motion. They might raise a ton of money at the wrong valuation. They might have a great team, but they're going to lose team alignment if their business model doesn't work and they're going to run out of money. So this is why at the end of the day, the most important thing, you've got to get close to customers that are willing to pay you to solve their pain, right? If you don't have that, start over. Like keep digging, keep looking. You have to have an idea that is solving a problem that is so painful right now that people are willing to bend over backwards to solve that problem.
I agree 100%. And look, is this advice has been given for someone that is actually a developer, someone that love to write code like you guys do, and clearly love technology. And look what he shared, right? Which is very powerful today. That if you really want to make money, tech maybe is not your space. The boring business, right? Those boring business that they're boring and you get dirty. This is
So
exactly
awesome.
where the money is. I got that tech is cool, but uh, everyone's want to do this, Jeremy. Everyone want to have build the cool app, the coolest tech, the coolest thing, and you have to be really passionate about, and you need to have a business dynamic in order to make
Yeah,
this
yeah.
work. And if you follow the process that Jeremy shares today, you will be fine. And this is the way that everybody does it. Just the press doesn't say. The press just say it only the end. What you, what when you're the exception, okay,
Yep.
and there are pieces, a lot of pieces missing, right?
Yeah,
In
they say, "Oh,
the
this company sold for $1 billion today."
mm,
They don't tell
mm.
you that it started in 2003, right? Like they don't
Even
tell
the
you
most
that.
simple, Jeremy, even the most simple thing, like sometimes they go in front of venture capitalists and they say they go dressed like dirty shoes with jeans, and we hold and say, guys, uh, you the if you're gonna speak with the VC, that you only have one chance, just present yourself professional. They said, no, Harry, because Mark Zuckerberg, all these people, the Steve Jobs, they wear jeans and shoes. I said,
Yeah.
yeah, they wear that after. But at the beginning, if they go like you, nobody's going to give them any sense. So one thing is what you see at the end is not actually what is happening at the beginning.
Exactly
And you
right.
guys are seeing
Yeah.
the end of the time, and there is an untold story that I'm so grateful, Jeremy,
Yeah.
that you unlock a great part of it. That untold story is the where success lays, right, Jeremy?
Yeah.
This is where
What
success
you
is,
see on
and nobody wanna know.
Yeah, what you see on TV is not what is real, right? It's scripted on purpose. So, like,
Maybe that's why it's in
build
TV. Yeah.
exactly. It's telling a story. It's great. It's entertaining you. It's not real. Build something useful, tell the truth, choose great partners, protect your own health and your family, keep learning. And like the goal isn't to look like an entrepreneur, right? The goal is to become the kind of person that customers and employees and investors and family members look to and rely on and trust when they've got hard problems. Like that's what it's about. So do that. Who cares about the stupid news media?
And put it exactly, and get your product out there and talk with the people. I remember, Jeremy, when I had my first property business, I was renting rooms. Okay, I do this first viewing, and the first boy go there and said, "No, I don't like this room. They need painting." So the guy left, and I went. I never painted a room in my life, so I went to the shop and I said to the guy, "I need this, this, this." I never painted in my life. And the guy from the shop told me, "Harry, I already know that you never painted in your life because everything that you asked me to paint this room doesn't make sense." So I said, "Okay."
It's not
So
right. Yeah.
the whole evening painting that room. Next day, the other girl come. I said, "Look, the room, you like it? It's painted, right?" And she said, "Oh, no, yeah, but it's a little bit cold. It's clean, but you know, it needs something." "No, I'm not gonna take it." So the girl left. I went to IKEA and I buy a painting, and a vase with flowers. And then the third girl comes, and she said, "No, it's a little bit cold. I need warm." So there are those duvets in IKEA that there are orange, red, and purple. And I'm thinking she doesn't want the room cold because it was in London. She want heat or something colorful in the room. I'm gonna put this. So now the room becomes painted, and it had to be very colorful. You have a painting, you have a
Yeah.
vase with the flowers. Guess what happened? The third girl comes, and I said, "Look, do you want to take the room?" And she said, "Yes." And what I discovered, Jeremy, that was 20 years ago, never looked back, is that it was not the product that I wanted. They told me what they want, and I was so desperate because if the room is empty, I had to pay from my own pocket. I was so
Right.
desperate that I said, "You know what? Let me do what they say out of survival." And I learned a big lesson. And I think that with that mentality, you need to go there, show them something minimum, see what they want, listen to them, adapt quickly, put it in front of them again, adapt quickly, put it in front of them. That's going to get you way longer. If you want to build a business, if you want to have a
Yeah.
hobby that you have your company, you want to be in front of your computer building software, it's fine. It makes you happy.
Great.
It's a great hobby,
Yeah.
but don't leave your job.
Yeah. Exactly.
Stay in your
Yeah.
corporate job. So thank you so much, Jeremy. It has been a great conversation. So grateful to have you here. And for all of you following the podcast, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable Hope. Brave entrepreneur like Jeremy, brave that will achieve the first million. Bye for
Thanks
now.
so much.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.